Amy Martinez stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around the docking bay. The metal walls curved high above her head and strange lights blinked in patterns she did not understand. This was her first time on an alien space station, and everything felt different. The air smelled odd, like copper and something sweet she could not name. Other species walked past her, creatures with too many legs or eyes in wrong places. She took a deep breath and picked up her bags. A tall, thin alien waited near the exit door. Its skin looked like blue glass, and it had 4 arms that moved in nervous patterns. 2 large black eyes studied her carefully. "You are the human scientist?" the alien asked. Its voice came from a small device on its chest because its mouth could not make human sounds. "Yes, I am Amy Martinez. I am here for the exchange program," she replied. The alien's 4 arms moved in what might have been a greeting. "I am Kixtal, director of this preservation station.
Welcome to Cathera Prime Orbital Facility.
Please follow me. I will show you our work." They walked through long hallways with windows that showed the planet below. Cathera Prime looked green and blue with white clouds moving across its surface. Amy had read about this world during her journey. It was home to some of the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. "We keep many species here," Kixtal explained as they walked. "All of them are dangerous. All of them are protected. Our job is to study them and help their numbers grow. It is difficult work." They stopped at the first enclosure. Through thick glass, Amy saw something that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. It had dark scales and claws as long as her forearm. The creature paced back and forth, never stopping. "This is a thornback from the southern continent," Kixtal said. "It can break through solid rock with its claws. 3 handlers died before we learned how to keep it safely." Amy watched the animal pace. She had worked with stressed animals before. This one showed all the signs. The constant movement, the way it never rested, the pattern it walked over and over. "It looks unhappy," she said. Kixtal's arms moved in a way that might have been agreement. "Yes, captivity is hard for predators, but if we do not keep them here, they will disappear forever. Their world is changing too fast." They moved to the next enclosure and the next. Each held a different creature, each more dangerous than the last. Some had too many teeth. Some had poison. Some were so fast that Amy could barely see them move. The alien handlers stayed far back from every cage, always behind barriers and force fields. "You are afraid of them," Amy said. It was not a question. "Of course," Kixtal replied. "Only a fool does not fear a predator. These creatures kill without thinking. It is their nature." They reached the final section of the tour. The sign on the wall said Catherine Ridge Hunter Nursery in several languages. Through the glass, Amy saw a large room with rocks and plants made to look like a natural habitat. In the far corner, 3 small creatures huddled together. They were the size of large dogs with 6 legs and fur that shimmered between gray and blue. Their heads had 6 eyes arranged in a circle, and their mouths showed teeth that looked like clear crystal. "These are Ridge Hunter cubs," Kixtal explained. "Normally they would be with their mother, but she died 3 days ago. We tried to care for them, but they refuse food. They will not let anyone close. We think they will die soon." Amy pressed her hand against the glass. The cubs looked thin. Their fur did not shine the way it should. They pressed against each other for comfort, making small sounds that hurt to hear. "Why not send someone in to help them?" Kixtal's 4 arms pulled back in what looked like horror. "Impossible. Ridge hunters are the apex predators of this world. Even the young ones have killed trained handlers. Their instinct is to attack any intelligent creature that comes near. We have lost too many people trying to work with them directly. But they are babies," Amy said. "They are scared and alone. Look at how they hold each other. They need comfort. They need food and care," "Yes," Kixtal agreed. "But they are too dangerous. We can only watch and hope they survive. It is very sad, but we have no choice." Amy studied the 3 cubs carefully. She had worked with wolves back on Earth. She had raised orphaned cougars and helped care for injured bears. These alien creatures looked different, but their body language told a story she understood. They were not aggressive. They were terrified. They had lost their mother and did not know what to do. "I want to go in there," she said. Kixtal's entire body went still. "What?" "I want to enter the enclosure. I think I can help them." The alien director moved all 4 arms in sharp cutting motions. "Absolutely not. You will die. I cannot allow this. Your species sent you here to learn not to be killed by predator cubs." Amy turned to face the alien directly. "How long do they have if no one helps them?" Kixtal was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps 2 more days. Maybe 3. Without their mother, without food, they are too weak. Then what do you have to lose? Amy asked. If they are going to die anyway, let me try. I have worked with dangerous animals my whole life. I know what I am doing. Human, you do not understand. These are not Earth creatures. They are aliens. Their behavior, their instincts, everything about them is different. What works on your world will not work here. Amy looked back at the cubs. One of them made a small crying sound. Maybe, she said, but maybe not. Fear is fear. Loneliness is loneliness. Pain is pain. Some things are the same everywhere. Please, let me try. Kixtel stood silent for a long time. Finally, the alien's arms moved in a gesture of defeat. I will need to get permission from the station council. They will want to know you understand the risk. They will want you to sign documents that say you choose this yourself. They will probably say no. I understand, Amy said. But please ask them. Those babies need help, and I think I can give it to them. The alien director looked at her with those large black eyes. You humans are very strange. Every other species in the galaxy knows to fear predators. But you look at something that could kill you and see only a creature that needs help. I do not understand this, Amy smiled. Maybe that is why I am here. To show you a different way to see things. 2 hours later, Amy stood outside the nursery enclosure with a medical kit and a small bag of food. The station council had given permission, but barely. Half the staff thought she was going to die. The other half thought she was crazy. Maybe both were right. Kixtal stood beside her, all forearms moving in nervous patterns. I have medical teams ready. I have security teams ready. If the cubs attack, we will pull you out immediately. Please, human, be very careful, Amy nodded. I will be. Open the door, please. The door slid open with a soft sound. On the other side, 3 pairs of 6 eyes turned to look at her. The cubs stood up, their crystal teeth catching the light. They began to move toward her slowly, their 6 legs carrying them forward with careful steps. Amy took a deep breath and walked inside. The door closed behind her with a click that sounded very final. She was alone with the predators now. There was no turning back. The 3 Ridge Hunter cubs moved toward Amy with slow, careful steps. Their 6 eyes never left her. Their crystal teeth showed clearly as they opened their mouths. The sounds they made were low and threatening, like rocks grinding together deep underground. Amy knew that everyone in the station was watching through cameras. She knew that weapons were pointed at these cubs, ready to fire if they attacked her. She knew that one wrong move could end badly for everyone. But she also knew animals, and these cubs were not attacking, not yet. They were testing her. She dropped down slowly to her knees, making herself smaller. Her movements were calm and steady. No sudden motions. No signs of fear. Predators could smell fear, could see it in how a body moved. She had learned this lesson young, working with her father's animal rescue center back in California. Hey there, she said softly. It's okay. Nobody's going to hurt you. The cubs paused. Their heads tilted slightly, all 6 eyes focusing on her in a different way. They were curious now. This strange creature was not running, was not screaming, was not acting like prey. They did not know what to do with that. Amy extended her right hand slowly, palm facing down. She kept her fingers relaxed, not pointing, not grabbing, just offering. The boldest cub, the one with a white patch on its front left leg, crept closer. Its nose, wet and dark, moved as it sniffed the air around her hand. In the monitoring room, Kixtal made a sound of distress. Several other aliens had joined the director, all of them watching the screens with what looked like horror. They had seen this moment before with other handlers. This was when the attack usually came. The cub with the white patch moved its head forward quickly. Its mouth opened, showing all those crystal teeth. Amy held perfectly still as the cub's mouth closed around her wrist. The teeth pressed against her skin, not breaking through, but definitely testing. The cub bit down gently, then harder, watching her reaction. Amy laughed. It was a soft, genuine laugh. Okay, I get it. You're tough. Very scary. Then she clapped her hands together once. The sound was sharp and sudden in the quiet room, like a breaking branch. The effect was immediate and completely unexpected. The cub released her wrist and jumped back. But instead of attacking or running away, it dropped to the ground and rolled onto its back. Its 6 legs kicked up in the air, and its belly, covered in softer fur, was completely exposed. The other 2 cubs did the same thing, rolling over and making small chirping sounds. In the monitoring room, absolute silence fell. Every alien stared at the screens with disbelief. Kickstal's forearms hung limp at the director's sides. Amy grinned. She had guessed right. Belly up was a play signal for these creatures, just like it was for dogs and wolves back home. She crawled forward slowly and placed her hand on the nearest cub's stomach. The fur was soft and warm. She scratched gently, moving her fingers in small circles. The cub made a sound unlike anything the aliens had heard before. It was deep and rumbling like a purr but lower, the sound of complete contentment. The other two cubs rolled closer, demanding attention too. Amy used both hands, scratching and petting while the cubs wiggled and made their happy sounds. "Good cubs," she said. "Such good babies. You're not mean at all, are you? You're just scared and lonely." She spent the next 20 minutes on the floor with them, letting them sniff her clothes, touch her face with their paws, climb over her legs. They were gentle, their crystal teeth never breaking her skin even when they mouthed her hands during play. When she finally pulled out the food she had brought, all three cubs ate eagerly, taking the meat from her hands with careful bites. By the end of the first hour, the cubs followed her everywhere she went in the enclosure. When she sat down to make notes, they piled around her, touching her with their paws and heads. When she stood up, they trotted at her heels like puppies. The monitoring room stayed packed with aliens, all of them watching in amazement. Kickstal finally entered the enclosure, staying very close to the door. The director's arms shook with fear. "How did you do this?" Amy looked up from where she sat, one cub asleep in her lap and the other two playing with her shoelaces. "Do what?" "Make them safe, make them friendly. We have studied these creatures for years. They attack everything. They show no trust to anyone, but with you they are like pets. They're babies," Amy said simply. "They lost their mother. They were scared. When I didn't act like prey or like a threat, they didn't know what to do, so I showed them I was safe. I used body language they understood." "But the clapping," Kickstal said. "What was that?" Amy smiled. "A test. I needed to see if sudden noises would trigger a play response or an attack response. On Earth, young predators often respond to sharp sounds by playing. It worked here too." "This is impossible," Kickstal said. "Every scientific paper about ridge hunters says they cannot be approached. They cannot be tamed. They are pure killing machines." "Maybe the papers are wrong," Amy suggested. "Maybe everyone was too afraid to try something different." The footage of Amy with the cubs spread through the galactic network faster than light. Within 3 days, billions of beings on hundreds of worlds had seen the video of a human making apex predator cubs roll over playfully. The clip where she clapped her hands and they all flopped onto their backs became the most watched moment in galactic history. Scientists argued about what it meant. Some said humans must have special abilities. Others said the cubs were sick or drugged. Still others claimed it was fake, that the whole thing was a trick made with computers. But more footage kept coming. Amy spending every day with the cubs growing stronger and healthier. Amy teaching them to come when called, to play gently, to trust. On Earth, the video reached Amy's old professor, a woman named Susan Blair, who had taught her about animal behavior. Susan watched the video 12 times, then called an emergency meeting with her colleagues at the university. "Look at what she's doing," Susan said, pointing at the screen. "She's reading their body language perfectly. She's responding to their signals. This isn't luck. This is skill. And if it works with alien predators, that means predatory behavior might be more universal than we thought." A younger professor, Greg Norton, shook his head. "But these are aliens. Completely different evolution. Different biology. There's no reason Earth behavior should work on them." "Unless," Susan said slowly, "predatory behavior follows certain patterns because those patterns work. Maybe fear responses, threat displays, submission signals. Maybe these things develop the same way across different worlds because they solve the same problems." The university sent a formal message to the Galactic Zoological Council. Earth had experience with dangerous predators that other species did not. Humans had lived alongside deadly creatures for millions of years. They had learned to read them, understand them, and eventually domesticate many of them. Perhaps Earth could help with other predator species that needed care. The council read the message with great interest. They had a problem that needed solving, and maybe these strange humans were the answer. Back on the space station, Amy sat in her quarters, reading messages from home. Her mother wanted to know if she was safe. Her brother wanted to know if the cubs were really as dangerous as the news said. Her old rescue center wanted to know if alien animals were very different from Earth animals. A message came through marked as urgent. It was from someone called Jake Sullivan on Earth. He introduced himself as the commander of something called the Xenofauna Response Team. Amy had never heard of it. "We saw what you did," the message said.
We need people like you.
"The galaxy has a lot of creatures that need help, and apparently we're the only species crazy enough to get close to them. If you're interested, we're putting together a team for a big project. It's dangerous. It's probably stupid, but it might save an entire species. Let me know if you want in." Amy looked at the 3 cubs sleeping in a pile near her bed. The station had given up trying to keep them in the nursery. They cried every time Amy left, so now they just stayed with her. She scratched the nearest cub behind its ear ridge, and it made a happy sound in its sleep. She typed her response to Jake. "Tell me more." "I'm interested," the answer came back fast. "Good, pack your things. You're going to a place called Darkwater, and bring everything you know about working with predators. We're going to need it." The transport ship that took Amy away from Kethra Prime felt empty without the cubs. She had spent 3 weeks teaching the station staff how to care for them properly, showing them that the Ridge Hunters would respond to patience and calm confidence. Kickstall had learned to feed them by hand. Other staff members had started entering the enclosure, slowly building trust. It was progress, but leaving still hurt. The journey to Earth took 5 days. Amy spent most of that time reading everything she could find about Voidstalkers. The files were not encouraging. Every attempt to breed them in captivity had failed. Every handler who tried to work with them closely had been killed or badly hurt. The creatures were intelligent, powerful, and seemingly impossible to manage. When the ship landed at the Earth facility in Colorado, Amy found herself at a military-style compound hidden in the mountains. The building looked ordinary from outside, but inside it was filled with equipment for studying and caring for alien lifeforms. She was taken to a conference room where 4 other humans waited. Jake Sullivan stood at the head of the table. He was tall and lean, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen a lot. "Amy Martinez. Good to finally meet you in person. I've watched your Ridge Hunter videos about 100 times. Nice to meet you too," Amy said. "Your message said you were putting together a team." "Already done," Jake said, gesturing to the others. "Let me introduce everyone. This is Lisa Wong, best veterinarian I know. She's worked with everything from elephants to grizzly bears." Lisa was a short woman with black hair pulled back tight. She nodded at Amy. "I saw what you did on that station. Impressive work. Hope you can teach me some of those tricks." "Next is Danny Cole," Jake continued, "animal behaviorist. If something has a brain, Danny can figure out how it thinks." Danny was young, maybe 25, with red hair and an eager smile. "The way you read those cubs' body language was amazing. I've been studying your footage. You picked up on signals I didn't even see at first." "This is Kate Rivers," Jake said, pointing to a woman with brown skin and strong arms, wildlife rescue specialist. "She's pulled injured predators out of more bad situations than anyone else on Earth." Kate grinned. "Heard you're not afraid of teeth." "Good. Where we're going, there's a lot of teeth." "And this is Ben Hayes, our security officer," Jake finished. "He's here to keep us alive if things go wrong." Ben was built like a bear with a thick beard and serious eyes. "My job is to make sure nobody dies doing something stupid. Based on this mission, I expect to be very busy." Jake pulled up images on the screen. "The Galactic Zoological Council contacted us 2 weeks ago. They have a problem on a planet called Darkwater. The Voidstalkers there are dying. These creatures are the apex predators of their world, essential to the whole ecosystem. But every time the aliens try to breed them in captivity, something goes wrong." The screen showed a Voidstalker. Amy caught her breath. The creature was huge, at least 12 feet tall when standing on its back legs. Its fur was completely black, so dark it seemed to absorb light. But across its body were patterns that glowed with a soft blue light, like stars against a night sky. Its eyes were large and intelligent. Its teeth were long and sharp. "They're beautiful," Amy said softly. "They're also incredibly dangerous," Jake replied. 8 Voidstalkers are currently in captivity. All of them are stressed. All of them are violent. The Trilaxian researchers who run the facility keep them sedated most of the time, because they attack anything that moves. 2 handlers died last month. "So what's our job?" Kate asked. "Fix the problem," Jake said simply. "The council is desperate. They tried everything their scientists could think of. Nothing worked. Then they saw Amy's video and thought, maybe humans could do what they can't. They're giving us full access to the facility and the creatures. They want us to try our methods. Our methods being what exactly? Lisa asked. Walk up to giant killer aliens and hope they don't eat us? Pretty much, Jake said with a slight smile. The Trilaxians keep the Voidstalkers separated in isolation chambers. They use force fields and drugs to control them. It's not working. The animals are suffering, getting worse every day. I want to try something different, like what? Danny asked, though his eyes showed he already knew. We let them out, Jake said. Put them all together in a natural habitat. No barriers, no drugs, and we go in there with them. Work with them directly. Build trust the way Amy did with those cubs. Silence filled the room. Finally, Ben spoke. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm in. Everyone laughed, but the sound was nervous. They all knew this was dangerous. But they also knew that if they didn't try, the Voidstalkers would die. The journey to Darkwater took 2 weeks. The team spent that time studying every piece of information about Voidstalkers. They learned that the creatures were social, living in family groups in the wild. They learned that they hunted at night using their bioluminescent patterns to communicate. They learned that they were intelligent, possibly as smart as Earth dolphins. When the ship entered orbit around Darkwater, Amy pressed her face to the window. The planet was covered in dark forests and deep oceans. Very little light reached the surface because Darkwater orbited far from its sun. The Voidstalkers had evolved to thrive in near darkness. The landing shuttle took them down to the research facility, a collection of gray buildings surrounded by force fields. A group of Trilaxians waited at the landing pad. They looked like tall insects with 6 legs and 4 arms each. Their heads had multiple eyes and antennae that twitched constantly. The lead researcher stepped forward. I am Venshara. Welcome to Darkwater. I must tell you, most of my staff think this visit is pointless. They believe you will fail like everyone else. Some think you will just die. Jake extended his hand. Nice to meet you too. Can we see the Voidstalkers? Venshara's antennae moved in what might have been annoyance. Follow me, but do not expect to get close. These creatures are kept under maximum security for good reason. The facility was cold and felt empty. They walked through hallways that echoed with their footsteps. Finally, they reached a large room with 8 sealed doors. Each door had a small window. Each Voidstalker has its own chamber, Venshara explained. They are sedated most of the time. When awake, they try to break through the walls. They have hurt themselves badly doing this. We heal them, but they just do it again. Amy looked through the first window. A Voidstalker lay on the floor, barely moving. Its beautiful bioluminescent patterns flickered weakly. She could see scars on its body where it had injured itself. The creature looked up at her with eyes that held pain and rage. This is torture, Kate said quietly. Not for them. For us too. Having to watch this. We have no choice, Venshara said. If we let them out, they attack. They have killed handlers. They will kill you. Jake walked to each window, studying each Voidstalker carefully. They're not attacking because they're evil. They're attacking because they're suffering. Isolation is killing them. These are social creatures and you have them locked up alone. We tried putting them together, Venshara said. They fought each other. We had to separate them before they killed each other. Because they're stressed and going crazy, Danny said. Like prisoners in solitary confinement. Of course they fight. Venshara's antennae pulled back. So what do you suggest? Jake turned to face the alien researcher. You have that large habitat dome you built, right? The one designed to look like their natural environment? Yes, but we have never used it with live Voidstalkers. It was deemed too dangerous. We want all 8 of them moved there, Jake said. No barriers inside. No force fields. Just a natural space where they can move freely. That is suicide, Venshara said flatly. Maybe, Jake agreed. But what you're doing now isn't working. These animals are dying slowly. Let us try something different, and then what? You think you can just walk in there with them? Yes, Amy said. That's exactly what we think. Venshara's antennae moved wildly. You are all insane. I cannot allow this. The council will hold me responsible when you die. Lisa stepped forward. The council sent us here. They gave us authority to try our methods. You can help us or get out of our way, but we're doing this. The Trilaxian researcher was quiet for a long time. Finally, Venshara made a clicking sound that might have been a sigh. Very well. I will prepare the habitat dome. But I want it on record that I advised against this. You humans are going to get yourselves killed, and there is nothing I can do to stop it. Put it on record, Jake said. We understand the risks. Now let's get to work. The habitat dome was massive, covering an area the size of 3 football fields. Inside, the Trilaxians had built a copy of Darkwater's forests, with dark trees and plants that glowed softly in the dim light. A stream ran through the middle and caves dotted the rocky areas. It looked perfect except for one problem. It was completely empty of life. "We will move the Void Stalkers tomorrow morning," Venchara said. "They will be sedated during transport. Once inside, the drugs will wear off in about an hour. I suggest you stay far away until we know how they react." Jake shook his head. "No, we go in with them. While they are still waking up?" Venchara's antennae moved in sharp patterns. "That is when they are most dangerous. They will be confused and angry." "Exactly," Danny said. "That's the perfect time to show them we're not a threat. They won't have their guard up yet. They'll just be trying to figure out where they are." The Trilaxian researchers thought the humans were crazy. They said so many times. But the next morning, they transported all 8 Void Stalkers into the habitat dome just as promised. The huge creatures were carried on floating platforms, still unconscious from the drugs. The humans helped position them in different areas of the dome, spreading them out so they would not wake up too close to each other. "They will be awake in 40 minutes, Venchara said. "Please reconsider this plan. Wait outside until we see how they behave." "We'll be fine," Kate said, checking her equipment. She had a medical kit and various tools for handling large animals. "We've done this before. Just with Earth creatures, not alien ones." "That is my point," Venchara said. "These are not Earth creatures. You do not know how they will react." Amy looked at the nearest Void Stalker. Even unconscious, it was magnificent. The bioluminescent patterns on its fur pulsed slowly with its breathing. She reached out carefully and touched its shoulder. The fur was thick and warm. "We'll figure it out," she said. The Trilaxians left, sealing the dome entrance behind them. The 5 humans were alone with 8 unconscious apex predators. They got to work quickly, setting up enrichment items around the habitat. Large balls made of tough material that the creatures could play with. Scratching posts. Food stations. Everything they needed to make this place feel less like a prison and more like a home. "Remember the plan," Jake said as they worked. "We spread out. We don't make eye contact right away. We act like we belong here. If one approaches aggressively, stand your ground but don't challenge it. Let them figure out we're not prey. And if they attack," Ben asked. "Then we have a problem," Jake admitted. "But I don't think they will. These animals are stressed, not evil. Give them space and respect and they'll calm down." Amy hoped he was right. She positioned herself near one of the food stations, organizing the meat that had been provided. Behind her, she heard a sound. A low rumble like distant thunder. One of the Void Stalkers was waking up. She did not turn around. That was important. Turning would show fear or interest, either of which could trigger an attack. Instead, she kept working with the food, moving calmly and naturally. The rumble came again, closer now. She could hear the creature moving, its large feet soft on the ground despite its size. Every instinct screamed at her to look, to see how close it was, but she forced herself to stay focused on her task. She felt breath on her neck. Hot and smelling like wild things. The Void Stalker was right behind her, so close that its fur brushed against her back. Her heart pounded so hard she thought the creature must be able to hear it. The Void Stalker made a sound. Not a growl exactly. More like a question. Amy kept arranging the food, her hands steady even though they wanted to shake. After a moment, the creature moved away. She heard it walk to the stream and drink. Across the dome, similar scenes played out. The Void Stalkers woke up one by one, found themselves in a new place, and immediately noticed the humans. But the humans did not run, did not scream, did not act like prey or like threats. They just kept doing their work, as if giant predators were the most normal thing in the world. One Void Stalker approached Danny aggressively, teeth bared and patterns flashing bright. Danny stood still, turned his shoulder toward the creature and kept adjusting a scratching post. The Void Stalker circled him twice, clearly confused by this behavior. Finally, it gave a snort that might have been frustration and walked away. Lisa faced a similar test when a Void Stalker charged at her. She did not run. She stood her ground, made herself slightly smaller by bending her knees, and maintained a calm expression. The creature stopped 5 feet away, studying her with intelligent eyes. After a long moment, it simply turned and went to investigate one of the caves. "So far so good," Ben said quietly into his radio. He was positioned high on some rocks, watching everything. "They're curious but not actively aggressive. This might actually work. The first day was tense. The Void Stalkers spent most of it exploring their new space and watching the humans. They did not interact much with each other at first. Years of isolation had made them forget how to be social. But slowly, carefully, they began to remember. Two of the younger Void Stalkers found each other near the stream. They approached cautiously, making small sounds. Then one of them did something remarkable. It bowed its head and presented its neck, a clear submission gesture. The other one touched its nose to the offered neck, accepting the gesture. Within minutes, they were playing together, chasing each other around the trees. "Look at that," Kate breathed. "They remember. They know how to be a family. They just needed the chance." Over the next week, the transformation was amazing. The Void Stalkers became more relaxed. Their bioluminescent patterns glowed brighter and steadier. They started forming social bonds, grooming each other and sleeping in groups. The self-harm behaviors stopped. They were healing. The humans slowly became part of the background. The creatures learned that these strange beings brought food, fixed things when they broke, and never posed a threat. The Void Stalkers started to ignore them, which was perfect. Being ignored meant being accepted. But one Void Stalker remained aggressive. The largest male, which Amy had started calling Midnight, because of his especially dark fur. He watched the humans constantly. He made threatening displays. He did not relax like the others. "He's the most damaged," Danny observed one evening. "Probably spent the longest time in isolation. He doesn't trust easily." "He needs more time," Amy said. "We can't rush him." But Midnight did not improve. If anything, he got worse. He started preventing the other Void Stalkers from approaching the humans. He positioned himself between them and the food stations. He was establishing dominance, treating the habitat like a territory he needed to defend. 3 weeks into the project, Amy was sitting near one of the caves, writing notes about the Stalkers' behavior. She was absorbed in her work, noting how two of the females had formed a strong bond. She did not notice Midnight approaching until his shadow fell over her notebook. She looked up slowly. The massive creature loomed over her, easily twice her size. His teeth showed clearly. His patterns flashed in aggressive colors. This was a direct challenge. Everything in his posture said he saw her as competition, someone who needed to be driven away or killed. Amy knew she could call for help. Ben was watching. The others could come running. But that would prove Midnight right. It would show that she was weak, that she needed protection. It would set back all their progress. Instead, she reached up with one hand and scratched behind Midnight's ear ridge. She had noticed all the Void Stalkers had a sensitive spot there, a place where they groomed each other. Her fingers found the ridge and scratched gently. Midnight froze. His aggressive posture faltered. The flashing patterns on his fur slowed, then changed to softer colors. He made a sound, low and questioning. Amy kept scratching, moving her fingers in small circles. "Good boy," she said softly. "You're okay. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore. You're safe here." The transformation was instant. All the tension went out of Midnight's body. His teeth disappeared as he closed his mouth. And then, this massive apex predator who had been the most aggressive creature in the facility flopped down on the ground beside Amy with a rumbling purr that shook the earth. Amy laughed and used both hands to scratch his ears. Midnight rolled slightly, angling his head to help her reach better spots. The other Void Stalkers watched with interest. If the big male accepted the humans, then they all could. By the end of the month, all 8 Void Stalkers were thriving. They played together. They hunted together, chasing the small animals that had been introduced to the habitat. And they accepted the humans as a neutral presence, sometimes even seeking them out for attention. 2 of the females were pregnant. The facility scans confirmed it. After years of failed breeding attempts, the Void Stalkers were finally reproducing. News of the success on Darkwater spread through the galaxy even faster than Amy's original video. Scientists from hundreds of worlds wanted to know how humans had accomplished what seemed impossible. The Galactic Zoological Council received thousands of requests from facilities that needed help with dangerous species. Everyone wanted to understand the human method. 6 months after the Darkwater project began, Jake received a formal invitation. The Galactic Xenobiological Symposium, the largest scientific gathering in known space, wanted his team to present their findings. More than 10,000 researchers from across the galaxy would attend, either in person or through remote viewing. It was the biggest stage possible. They want to see proof, Jake told his team as they prepared for the journey. A lot of species still think we got lucky. They think the Void Stalkers were just unusual, or that we used some kind of trick. We need to show them this is real. The symposium was held on a neutral station called Unity Prime. The building was enormous, designed to accommodate thousands of different species with different environmental needs. The main auditorium could hold 5,000 beings, with millions more watching through broadcasts. When Jake and his team entered the auditorium for their presentation, Amy felt her stomach twist with nerves. She had worked with dangerous animals her whole life, but public speaking terrified her. The room was filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some had tentacles, some had wings, some were just floating lights that somehow thought and communicated. All of them were watching the humans with intense interest. Jake stood at the podium, calm and confident. "Thank you for inviting us. I'm Jake Sullivan, and this is my team. We're here to talk about our work with predatory species and why humans might have a unique ability to help with conservation efforts across the galaxy." A Hexarian in the front row stood up. He was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished metal. "I am Tolmec, Chief Biologist of the Hexarian Science Institute. Before we begin, I must state my skepticism. The videos we have seen are impressive, but they prove nothing. Any species can get lucky once. There must be some explanation beyond human skill." "What kind of explanation?" Jake asked. "Technology we cannot detect, pheromones that affect predator behavior, genetic engineering of the creatures themselves. Something that explains how humans can do what every other species has failed to do." "Fair enough," Jake said. "That's why we're going to show you. Not just tell you. We've arranged a demonstration." Murmurs filled the auditorium. Demonstrations were rare at the symposium because they were difficult to set up. But the screen behind Jake showed a prepared habitat, visible through multiple cameras. Inside were 3 creatures that made several beings in the audience gasp. "Razor spines," Jake said. "Young ones, about 6 months old. For those who don't know, razor spines are considered one of the most dangerous predatory species ever discovered. They're aggressive from birth. Even adult razor spines fear their own young." The 3 in this habitat were provided by the Korvax Conservation Group, who couldn't find anyone willing to work with them. Tolmec's metallic face showed something that might have been concern. "You are not suggesting that one of you will enter that habitat?" "That's exactly what I'm suggesting," Jake said. "Amy, are you ready?" Amy stood up, her heart pounding. This was it. In front of thousands of scientists, she was about to walk in with creatures that had a reputation for killing anything that moved. She nodded and walked toward the entrance to the demonstration habitat. The razor spines were beautiful in a deadly way. They looked like a cross between Earth's big cats and porcupines, with dark fur and spines that could shoot out like arrows. Their eyes were bright yellow, and their teeth were designed for tearing. All 3 of them noticed her the moment she entered. Amy sat down in the center of the space, cross-legged, and closed her eyes. She began to hum softly, a low tune her mother used to sing. It was not the sound that mattered, but the vibration, the calm confidence it projected. In the auditorium, absolute silence fell. Every being watched the screens as the 3 razor spines began to stalk toward Amy. Their movements were textbook predatory behavior. Low to the ground, eyes locked on target, preparing to strike. One of them lunged forward, spines rising. Amy did not move. At the last second, the razor spine stopped, confused. This prey was not running, was not even looking at it. The creature circled around her, trying to understand. Amy opened her eyes and looked directly at the young predator. She moved her hand slowly, reaching out. The razor spine hissed but did not attack. Amy gently deflected its snout with her palm, then scratched under its chin in the same motion. The effect was immediate. The aggressive posture melted. The spines lowered. The razor spine leaned into her touch, making a sound like a rumbling purr. The other 2 approached more cautiously, and soon all 3 were competing for Amy's attention, climbing over each other to get closer to her hands. In the auditorium, no one moved. Even Tolmec stood frozen, staring at the screens. Amy spent 10 minutes with the razor spines, playing with them, letting them mouth her hands gently, scratching behind their ears. When she finally stood to leave, all 3 young predators followed her to the exit, making sad sounds when she stepped through the door and it closed behind her. She returned to the auditorium to complete silence. Then slowly, beings from dozens of species began making sounds of approval. Clapping, clicking, humming, whatever their biology allowed. The applause lasted for 5 minutes. Jake waited for quiet, then began to speak. What you just saw was not luck. It was not technology or drugs or tricks. It was understanding. Let me explain why humans can do this when other species cannot. He pulled up images of Earth showing forests and jungles, mountains and plains. Earth is what we call a predator-rich world. We have dangerous carnivores on every continent. Lions, tigers, bears, wolves, crocodiles, sharks. Hundreds of species that can kill humans easily. Our ancestors lived alongside these creatures for millions of years. More images appeared showing ancient humans hunting, running from predators, defending their children. We could not outrun most predators. We could not outfight them. So we learned to understand them. We studied their behavior. We learned to read their body language, predict their actions, know when they were hunting and when they were just curious. Eventually, we did something remarkable. We domesticated some of them. Wolves became dogs. Wild cats became house cats. We took apex predators and turned them into companions. This required a deep understanding of predatory behavior, an understanding built into human instinct over countless generations. A new image appeared, showing a human child playing with a large dog. Today, Earth children grow up with predators as pets. We teach them from young age how to read an animal's mood, respect its space, respond to its signals. This knowledge is so basic to us that we forget other species do not have it. Danny stood up to add more. Predatory behavior follows patterns because those patterns work. A threat display looks similar across species because it serves the same purpose. Submission gestures, play behaviors, hunting strategies. These things develop similarly on different worlds because they solve the same problems. Humans have thousands of years of experience recognizing these patterns. Lisa took over next. We also understand fear differently. Most species see a predator and think about danger, about death. Humans see a predator and also think about strength, beauty, power. We respect them. Sometimes we even love them. This changes how we approach them. We're not afraid, so we don't trigger their prey drive. Kate added the final piece. And we're patient. Working with predators takes time. You cannot force trust. You have to earn it. Many species want quick solutions, fast results. Humans understand that real progress with wild animals happens slowly. Tolmec stood again. His metallic face showed something different now. Not skepticism, but wonder. You are saying that humanity's evolution made you naturally compatible with predatory species everywhere. In a way, yes, Jake said. We do not claim to be special or better. We just happen to evolve in a specific environment that taught us specific skills. Skills that turn out to be useful across the galaxy. Another being stood. This one a floating light that spoke through a translation device. Does this mean humans could work with any predatory species? Not any, Jake admitted. Some creatures might be too different, too alien, but most predators share basic behaviors because those behaviors are efficient. If an animal uses body language to communicate threat or submission, we can probably learn to read it and respond appropriately. The questions continued for hours. Scientists wanted to know about specific techniques, about training methods, about how to identify safe approaches versus dangerous ones. Jake and his team answered everything they could. Finally, the symposium director called for a vote. The Galactic Zoological Council has a proposal. We wish to establish a new organization, the Galactic Predator Conservation Corps. This corps would be led by Earth but open to any species willing to learn human methods. They would provide assistance to facilities across the galaxy that need help with dangerous predatory species. All in favor? The vote was not even close. Nearly every species agreed. A few abstained, still skeptical or afraid. But the over,